Welcome, everyone. Welcome to 2025, a new year edition of AI Insights. Stephen Bowman, software expert, AI observer, guru, fill in the blank, and me, Mike Russell. So, leading it off today, we're going back to a subject we covered a number of times in previous episodes, but because it continues to evolve, and the nature of what it means to business in 2025 will have evolved. We're going back to the idea of an AI agent. So let's start there, Stephen. What's up
Oh,
for
all right. Thanks,
2025
Mike.
with agents?
Yeah, all of the, not all, a large percentage of the news headlines that I've seen in the last month and change have been all about AI agents. And we've been talking about AI agents here for months and months and months, maybe even years. Right, it goes back to the beginning of this. Check out the previous podcast, check out the YouTube channels, look at the transcripts. We've been talking about this a long time. And the reason why is because I come from a application development mindset where we rewrite processes, we create processes digitally that a lot of people do manually. And the idea behind an AI agent is pretty simple. And that is that whatever your complex process is, an AI agent can do a step or a few steps in that process, potentially the entire thing. Now, probably a lot like your workflows or your processes in your department, in your day-to-day activities. There's multiple steps. They probably include multiple people. And that's where you need multiple agents because just as it is in the human world, one person can't do everything all the time. Teamwork makes the dream work, whatever phrase you want to use there. Why is this important? Why are we talking about this again? And that is because the majority of the headlines say that 2025 is going to be the year of the AI agent. You might have heard the CEO of Salesforce. You might have heard the guys from ChatGPT, Sam Altman, or the CEO of Anthropic, or IBM, or you might have popped up in a little, Gemini in the middle of your Gmail says, hey, click this button and I can write your email for you, whatever it is. These are examples of AI agents. These are companies that are looking at implementing AI agents. You might have seen that recently ChatGPT came out and said that they're going to have what's called an operator. It's being released to the $200 a month. I can't remember what the subscription name is. Please forgive me. The $200 a month version of ChatGPT where you open a special browser and the agent watches you, you do it, it mimics you, and it can do things like book travel and simple tasks, that kind of stuff, while using a web browser on your computer right in front of you. These are examples. We've got
By
other,
the way, I
yeah,
did try that, write your email for you.
yep.
Nothing happened. I clicked yes and I waited and nothing happened.
Yeah.
All right,
Sometimes
little
it needs a
AI joke there.
sometimes it needs a prompt. Sometimes it doesn't work the best. These things happen for sure. So
Probably
what
needs
I
a little
wanted to do today,
information.
yeah, what I want. Okay, so in case this is news, in case you're here and you don't know who the two of us are, um, I have written software a long time. I write AI agents. We write agentic architecture for businesses. And one of the problems that we have identified, our customer, excuse me, our customers come to us and said, "Help! We need help with this." Something magical happened during the pandemic. Everybody went to work from home. Everybody started using Zoom or Google Meet or whatever video conferencing software their company implemented, Microsoft Teams, whatever it is, and there everybody went remote. And when that happened, there were a lot of businesses who said, well, we could never do that. And then they were forced to do that. And they found new ways of acquiring customers. They found new ways of interacting with people. And a big part of that was a Zoom call, a video conference, like what we're doing right now, where a salesperson could get on a call. They could talk about needs and value and maybe do a demo and then get conversions. Well, at first, a lot of people were really into it. Yay, I can do a demo in my PJs, or just the ease of use associated. I can work from home, and the ease of use of being able to do it was great. But what's happened since then is the percentage of people who book an appointment and then actually show up for that appointment has crashed dramatically. It's horrible. I've got companies and clients that I work with where their appointment show rates are so bad that if half of the people who booked an appointment show up, it's been a great day. And it's more like 70% of the people don't show for appointments that they book. Now,
Wow.
there's all other kinds of wet rate. There's all different kinds of things that you can throw. Okay, maybe maybe it was an advertisement headline and people are wary of getting blasted by ads, or maybe they were super inspired by the headline that they saw. They booked the appointment, then they went to the website and realized, wait a minute, these guys are scammy, or maybe they just had to book 7 appointments because their boss said, I want you in meetings, and they had no intention on showing. Here's what matters. What matters is that there are businesses that rely on lead flow in their sales pipeline to continue to build, grow, maintain their businesses, help other people. They've got legitimate products, and they're caught in the same quagmire. So what we've done is we've built a slightly different framework to how we evaluate prospects. So traditional marketing, if you will, kind of Dan Kennedy-esque, or those of you who know Perry Marshall, there's this idea of disqualification. And they've got the 5 power disqualifiers, right? Do they have the money? Do they have a bleeding neck? Can they say yes? Do they buy into my USP? Do I fit into their long-term plans, right? There are these rules that say if you trip on any of those rules, then you're disqualified and you can go the way of the dodo. And what we've learned is that I think a lot of people are catching on to those tricks a little bit, or maybe even more so, they're feeling abused by that type of mentality. And that's probably why they're excited and inspired to book the appointment, but maybe not show up. So when we started doing the work and we actually worked with AI to formulate this framework, we decided, you know what? Disqualifying somebody is not the same as qualifying somebody. They're 2 different things. They're 2 different energies. They're 2 different everythings, 2 different philosophies, all of it. So instead of working on disqualifying somebody in a negative, because unless I've misunderstood the universal law of attraction, whatever we put out there is the type of stuff that's going to show up. So instead, we want to qualify prospects. And what kind of questions would we ask by qualifying? We would say, ask them something like, does working with a company that can solve your problem energize your ability to say yes? And that's a whole lot different than saying, hey, do you have a $4,500 a month budget for blah, blah, blah? So with that being said, that mentality, that methodology is built into our AI agent, and I will share my screen and bring up, I'd like you guys to meet Pascal. Let's see, share screen, looking at there he is. All right. So.
Yep, I got it. I can see it.
All right, excellent. So I'm just going to refresh this page. This is our environment. This is my development environment. We won't release our clients' production stuff to you guys quite yet. If you're in the, I'll put a list of some of the companies that we work with, and if you're in the need, you'll see. So here we've got multiple constructs here. So on the left, what you're seeing is AI generated video. This is Jonathan. Jonathan is your appointment concierge, and we have programmed him all of the hand movements that you see, all of the head motion that you see, all of the speech that he's using. In fact, I'd love to share the sound of his voice, because who doesn't love an Asian gentleman with a British accent? We did that on purpose. I can't do that because I can't share audio through a video chat like this. I apologize. Every single hand motion, he uses these, he throws his hands out, he bounces his head left and right, he nods forward. All of that is programmed. So we create a digital avatar with data inputs from the platform that we use there is Synthesia. It's actually pretty cool. You might have heard me talk about that before.
Yeah, so just to be clear for everybody, Pasquale is the AI app. Jonathan is the avatar that's talking to whoever is coming in.
And all Jonathan's intention here is to get you started. He's going to tell you that he's his concierge. He's going to hand you off to the chat window on the right. So
By the
the
way, a question.
AI,
So I thought you could share computer sound. It doesn't allow you?
um, I've tried about a dozen times and I've yet to be able to do it. But
Oh, all right. Well, I thought there was something about share computer sound under there I've used before when playing video clips, but it may be different because you're using an app in a browser.
maybe. Yeah, I've tried multiple times on this and Google Meet, and I apologize. I haven't been able to
Okay,
do
all
that.
right. Well, it's just not to be. Crank on.
Here's what we're going to do.
We'll
I
we'll,
am
we'll use
going
our imagination.
I am going to add, there you are. Here's the URL to talk to Jonathan, dropped into the chat.
Cool.
So with that being said, Jonathan is going to kick us off with a chat on the right. Here he says, we're going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to interview you to find out whether or not we would be a good candidate to help you solve your problem. Now, one of the key features here is that all of the questions are AI generated.
Hmm.
More so, these questions are automatically split tested after 100 iterations. So we've got 50 iterations of question set A, 50 iterations of question set B. And AI scores each question and answer every time it's asked. We'll be able to show you the scores here in just a second.
Oh, awesome.
The questions are not scored on whether or not the answer is correct or not. Do you have $4,500 allocated in your CapEx budget for this project? No, that is not what we ask. You'll see with the questions that we ask, what we're looking for is how definitively you answer the question. If your answer is, I don't know, or I haven't thought of that, you're going to get a 1 out of 5. If your answer is, we need to improve appointment show rates 10% month over month over the course of the next 90 days, blah, 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 that is a definitive answer. And what we're trying to determine is how far along the customer awareness timeline you are. Are you not aware of a solution? Are you aware that there is a solution? Are you aware that we can actually provide that solution for you? And the reason why is simple. The further along the customer awareness timeline you are, the more educated you are about a subject, and that puts you in best position to show for our appointment.
Ah,
If you're not sure, if you're wishy-washy on your answers, chances are good you're still fishing for information. And that is absolutely perfectly fine and acceptable. But that does not mean that you need to book time on our sales reps calendar. Instead, we've got 2 more layers or 2 more levels that we can suggest for you. In the lowest rung, we'll route you to a website, a dedicated landing page, our website. You choose it, we program it for you so that people can begin their customer journey. If you're in the
provide them
middle,
like, white papers, videos, information,
white
right? They're
paper,
still
exactly.
seeking okay.
Information so that they can begin to learn. Now, if you're in the middle, we purposely route you to our YouTube channel because there's more advanced topics about much more specific subject matter, and that will help you determine whether or not you believe that we can actually solve your problem for you. That gets you into the, yes, I am now aware that you have a solution that solves my problem. And then finally, in the highest scoring bucket, you're routed to, hey, your answers were great. We think you'd be a great candidate. We think the timing is right. Why don't you schedule an appointment at your convenience? We ship them off to Calendly or Time Trade or whatever
Right.
whatever system you use. So in this case, Pascal says, thank you very much for joining us. We're committed to understanding your challenges through a series of questions. Please, your candid and thoughtful responses are invaluable in helping us figure out whether or not we're a good fit. Are you ready to start?
Now,
So
is this what Jonathan is saying?
no, Jonathan is actually leading into this.
Okay. So this isn't like a transcript of what he's saying, so you got it both visually and audibly. He's giving an intro, then you've got that, and then
That's correct.
okay.
Now, both of these are programmable. So if we want Jonathan's blurb to be much shorter and the opening blurb to be much shorter, it's no problem. The curtness of the questions is actually some of the best feedback I've gotten just earlier today from our mutual friend that we were talking about earlier. So who's feeling better? With that being said, we can use slang. We can answer this. Are we ready to begin? Sure thing.
Oh, I see. This is a sliding window. All right, very good.
Right. So this is just a chatbot conversation at this point in time. But during this chat conversation, will help to show this is an AI agent, because a chatbot will just answer questions. An AI agent does things. Agentic architecture is multiple agents working together, doing multiple things. And we'll be pointing all of that out here. So when discussing the why behind your solution, how do you confirm that it resonates strongly enough for prospects to prioritize your meeting, show up consistently, and see the transformative outcomes you promise? Long-winded question. We're gonna tailor that, right? We're gonna cut that down in future versions. With that being said, we offer multiple appointments, PDFs, and videos to help them understand our values. Just randomly answering questions here.
Right.
So we actually, our preferred model for this is ChatGPT. And right now we're using 4.0, and that's why it's taken the time that it takes, because, well, we're doing multiple things. This is fun. Where's my option? You can actually see, this is fun. You can actually see questions, answers, and scoring. How it actually scored. I'll show you where we store that too, because again, using agentic architecture and using an AI agent, we actually perform tasks. This isn't just a chat. So you'll see here in a second. So in what ways do you gauge a prospect's openness to transformation, ensuring that they truly believe in new possibilities and remain energized by a partnership-focused approach that drives immediate results? We ask them for confirmation of this multiple times during the interview. Spelling does not count. This is AI. We can misspell all day and night and get away with it.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, there are exceptions for sure.
As long as it's reasonably close.
What methods do you use to confirm the final decision makers who can confidently say yes are always reachable and motivated to show up? We send multiple emails and text messages, pre-meeting, and give them the ability to reschedule. Again, relatively definitive answers. Some are a little looser than others. How do you nurture trust in your product and process? For instance, highlighting your guarantee. Okay, this is interesting because it's time to mention this. There are a few items that we pass in to our prompt that generates the questions. And one of the most powerful items that we pass in with that prompt is your unique selling proposition. Now, a unique selling proposition can happen at multiple levels in your business. You can have a company-wide USP. One of my favorites of all time is, I own a 76-year-old tractor. It's made at the steel that it makes this tractor is made at a hardness that doesn't happen anymore. It's heavy, it's bulky, it's a Farmall Cub. It's actually a wonderful little machine. And it is not always easy to find parts when I need to work on it. And being 76 years old, I find myself working on it maybe a little more often than I'd like to. I'd rather just use it all the time, but it happens from time to time. So with that being said, I found a wonderful resource to buy parts from over the internet. The name of the company is Steiner, and their USP is new parts for old tractors.
Nice.
What do you do? How do you do it? There, all of the questions are answered right there.
Right in the URL. I mean, what a deal.
So with that being said, we take your USP. You can have a USP at your company level. You can have USP at a product level. You could actually have your own USP at an offer level. So maybe you've got one product, you sell Corvettes, and you want to sell 10 Corvettes this month. So you're going to offer them at a certain price for the first 10 people, whatever that is, right? That your lowest level USP, we recommend to be given to the bot, because our agent is then going to go generate new questions and your USP is part of them. And that's actually reflected in this question. So in this case, we offer a guarantee of at least 15% in appointment show rates. And it is embedded directly in some of the questions that are asked, because it's that vital to let people know, number one, this is what we're offering. And number two, hey, how do you do this? If this is part of our offer to you and that resonates with you, how are you going to do the same thing? What are your mechanisms for ensuring that that promise can be met? Guarantee, promise, I use those words independently. So in this case, I will say, again, I've already answered this. Again, we offer multiple items of information and data, including PDF, YouTube vids, and dedicated web pages. Excuse me. So, AI, OpenAI, I love you. I love you, Sam Altman, even though we're going to talk bad about you here in a minute. Just kidding. How do you ensure each prospect both urgently needs a solution, bleeding neck, sound familiar, and has the budget to invest so that they consistently attend appointments and stay committed through the sales process? This is all part of our guarantee for our offer. We use an if then else statement. See how it feels about that. I'm really curious to know how it scores us on that one, because I don't think I've given it that answer before, right off the top of the stack. Now, we test these extensively before we let them loose, and we use shorthand. We say sure thing. We say TY for thank you. AI understands all of that. It's pretty neat. So it's now asking me, Mike, I'm going to be you. I'm going to say I'm Mike Russell.
That's dangerous.
And one of the things that we actually do a lot of work with is, I could have showed that, but I'll show it now. At this point in time, if someone gives us a false name, Michael J. Fox or whatever, we actually check names. And if it doesn't have a certain confidence score by our agent, the agent will say, sorry, maybe I misunderstood or you mistyped. That doesn't look like a real name to me. Are you sure that's your real name? And if they confirm that that's their real name, then that's what we record. Same thing with email address. So I'll say test@test.com. thanks, but it looks like that email address might not be valid. Can you verify and try it again? At that point in time, if they want to give us a false email address, we're going to let them. Here we say, okay, we're still not able to confirm that. Are you sure? We'll let them by. So in this case, it says your responses show a commendable level of understanding. I've got more information for you because you're not exactly where we want you to be in your answers in order to see one of our salespeople. Here's a link to our YouTube channel for further insights. Now, that by itself is pretty cool because that eliminates a lot of tire kickers and window shoppers and people who probably don't need to be booking time on your salespeople's calendars anyway, but it also really cuts down on the amount of no-shows. In fact, we're seeing, we say 15% on guarantee or promise. We're seeing higher results than that on a month-over-month basis just by piping people through this. But this is where it gets fun. So in my case, can you guys see Pipedrive?
Yep.
In my case, we use, we'll go test at test.com. There you are, Mike. We use Pipedrive. You could use Salesforce or Go High Level or GitHub, or I'm sorry, not GitHub, HubSpot or whatever your CRM of choosing is. We backend all of this, but we didn't stage this ahead of time. This is actually Mike scores all questions, all answers, and what the score was. And the reason why we do this is because this is really for individuals who are sales oriented, meaning a salesperson who did not have a conversation with a prospect yet, within about 3 minutes of their next scheduled meeting, can look the contact up, the prospect up in their CRM of choice, however you use, go read the questions that were asked, go look at the answers that were provided, and then be able to make an immediate decision on, hey, okay, this is how I'm going to approach talking to this person. This is how I think I can help this person. This is how I think we can get started with them. And away we go. Now, the only other thing to show, and again, this is all completely automated. It happened in the background. The second that you put your first and last name in and your email address, as soon as we see that as valid, we then go and write it to your CRM. But we've also got a dashboard that shows all of the metrics for your campaign. So this is how many times the existing question base, this is your winning question set. This is how many times it's run in this last iteration. This is how many times you actually, or this is the number of appointments that are unscored. And that's actually part of our USP that says you have to go back and score your appointments, because lead qualification score is another key metric that we manage for you. This is your scores. This is the average rating of the answers to the questions that we've given. How many people are actually showing for your appointments? How many people are making it all the way through all of the questions? How many people are bouncing off the page before they even actually ask questions? And then we've got more AI agents embedded in the portal to help you do administrative tasks for this, such as scoring appointments. We allow you to add rules, right? Some of the items that, like I was saying before, when we generate new questions, we use your USP, but we also use a set of rules. So if you determine you need a new rule to eliminate people in or out of the questions that we ask, you add it here. Why is all this important? Why am I blathering about this? Scoring an appointment, that's a different agent. That's not Pascal. That's not Jonathan. This is the appointment scoring agent suggesting a new rule. That takes what you say here and writes it to a database. Here's your list of rules. Prospects need to be willing to spend $3,500 a month. I just dropped that in there the last time I gave this a demo. You can actually put new rules in that will show up in your question set that will help filter and eliminate people. And this happens every time new questions are generated. That's a different agent. that's accepting information from here, that's evaluating your answers, and that's writing data to a database so that we can use it next time questions are generated. The questions being generated, that's a different agent. That's our question generation agent. And all of these agents are working together the same way multiple employees work together during a single workflow. Hey, I'm responsible for task A, you're responsible for task B, Susie is responsible for task C. We do them all in order and we get the end result that we're looking for. This is no different except for the fact that we're using computer software that we call AI to generate the results that you're looking for. And that is an AI agent and agentic architecture in the real world today.
Cool.
So I know we're over.
Well, we got a little time. We got a little time. We'll hit the news items. We should do that because it, as you've already teased them earlier.
One of the big names that's been coming up in news here in the last week is something called DeepSeek. So there's a Chinese tech startup, DeepSeek. They claim to do the same thing that ChatGPT does. And the reason why everybody's so excited is because instead of spending 500 million, they spent 5 million. Instead of having 4,500 people on staff, they've got 200. And everybody's getting all excited. And what I read
the first question, though, that someone should ask is DeepSeek actually deep fake?
So again, the reason why I think everybody's excited is because there's these claims that say we spent less and we got more and we need far fewer GPUs and we can run them on GPUs that run on gaming computers, and that kind of idea.
Right.
And I think what got everybody's attention was the models are comparable, at least they appear to be comparable to OpenAI and to Anthropic. And again, they claim to be much cheaper. And the reason why is because they segment their data differently when they do their searches and get results. That's the easiest way I can explain my understanding of the 36 articles that I've read about.
So I guess my interpretation so far, I haven't read that many articles, is that instead of doing a search across the entire encyclopedia, for instance, for those of you who remember what an encyclopedia is, they're only taking, maybe part of one volume or a couple of parts across a few volumes rather than the whole thing that appear to be the most appropriate, and then using that for the basis of an answer, which is a radically reduced set of search and refinement than it would be if you're searching the entire encyclopedia every time.
Sure. It cuts down on the amount of memory required. It cuts down on the amount of processing power. It also cuts down on the amount of background data used. And I think that's where, in the long term, it may cause anomalies in what they produce, right? So we've talked about V-shaped and T-shaped agents here a lot. And this is going more toward a T-shaped agent rather than a V-shaped agent. And for extremely specific topics that may be useful. But remember that generative AI is an algorithm that guesses what the next word should be. And it's able to do that based on the vast quantity of words that it has in its memory and that it has to search from in its catalog vector database. And because of that, I think that you're going to see limitations, especially when you want answers to questions that span multiple disciplines, multiple subject matters.
Now that brings up another question. I don't know that it's everybody find it pertinent, but it just dawned on me. Are they training it on English language or Chinese language source?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that right now. There's a bunch of heartburn associated with it being a Chinese-based company.
Yeah, I
And
mean, just, then you might get into linguistic issues or other things, particularly, especially if I'm segmenting my search. I just was just curious.
right, right. Um, yeah, to be determined. And what I don't know is, right, there's been a bunch of other kind of interrelated topics, right? There's Stargate, which was a government-based announcement in the last week or two about OpenAI and a handful of other companies, Oracle, getting together to build data centers to support AI, right? Do we need all that money? Does the money exist? Who are we competing with? Right, that opens up a whole can of worms. And right, banning TikTok because it's a Chinese-owned company, and where does DeepSeek fit into that same conversation? And all kidding aside, guys, I don't, right, I'm elbow deep in this all day, all night, all the time, and we use their API a lot. We use their most advanced. I use ChatGPT's, OpenAI's most advanced API model a couple hundred times a day, and it's not expensive. The value that we get from it, and again, I think a lot of the fanfare associated with DeepSeek is people who are saying, oh, get excited about this, primarily because they're thinking of it more of like an investment opportunity rather than the way to use it for output to help your business.
Yeah, isn't there another wrinkle which I haven't seen confirmation of it yet, that whereas OpenAI is not open, like they originally thought that they might be open source,
Sure.
DeepSeek has said that they're going to put the open source their engine. So that
Yeah.
would be another factor, right?
Could be another factor. People might be able to um, use that source code, get their own hardware, and run their own LLMs in
Right,
the DeepSeek
right.
model, right?
Mhm.
Um, this opens up a whole can of worms, and fascinating conversation, but this opens up a whole can of worms associated with what the future of AI and LLMs will look like for users like you and I who just use it to perform tasks or who use an API to connect with it. I don't know that I can speculate appropriately on what's going to happen. My gut feeling is that, right, I still use Microsoft technology for a reason, and that's because I trust their ability to have uptime that they promise. So when I'm building an application and I know that I need it to work on 5 nines, I don't use a vendor that I've never heard of or has only been around for 3 weeks.
Right, but you're also talking about Azure, right? Yeah, just to be clear for people who are, listening, we're not talking about like Office 365, which does
Right.
run on Azure. So in theory, it's up,
Even
but you're
right.
using a different underlying infrastructure.
Even then, yes, but yes, 100%. All right. This is the last one. This one's kind of fun. I saw that Sam Altman, it says sparked controversy, but the headline says
Yeah, what's new about
users
that?
users panicked because Sam Altman suggested that artificial intelligence will necessitate significant societal changes. So Mike and I were joking about how I don't think that most people actually understand how the social contract with the internet and social media has changed, altered, and abused us as consumers. So the analogy
Already,
that I gave
already
was
was the main point.
already, yes, already. The analogy that I gave was I don't think a lot of people fully understand. You go to, I don't know, Macy's.com and you find a pair of boots that you like or shoes. And for the next 3 weeks, those shoes show up everywhere.
Yeah, or
They're
like in my weather app, right? I'll pull it up, so embedded
they're
down there as an ad,
they're on
right?
your weather app. You get an email from them in Gmail spam. They're showing up on your Facebook feed. You see a commercial for them in your YouTube channel. How does that happen? That's a concept called retargeting, right? Once you've seen one thing, they take that little bit of information and they spread it all over the internet. Wherever you go, it follows you through something called the Google Click ID or a Facebook ID or a bunch of these tiny little bits of information that are floating around all the time. They did not ask for your permission to do that. That has fundamentally changed how a lot of people buy and sell. And I mean, listen, you really wanted those boots, and a couple days later, after you've had a chance to think about it, all you have to do is click on an ad and you're already in the shopping cart with those boots. All you have to do is click buy now and put your credit card number in. The idea that that has not changed the contract that society has with technology is pretty foolish, because whether you realize it or not, they're taking advantage of you. Maybe you really wanted those boots. Maybe you would have bought them. I don't know. That's for you to decide. But the fact that it's in your face all the time, 24/7, 365, is not a mistake. And I think what he's talking about here is that the way that we use information and the results that we get from technology are going to cause upheaval in ways that we don't fully understand. Just how we didn't understand what screen time and Facebook and YouTube ads meant 10 years ago, 15 years ago, before it became mainstream in your face all the time. I think that's all he's talking about here. That was the key takeaway. The reason why it caught my attention is because, Panic at the Disco, there's this headline, again, another good example of how bad everything has gotten. Everything's all about a headline to get you on the web page so that they can show you an ad that you saw from the shopping cart that you abandoned. You get the idea. Down the rabbit hole we go once again. And I think AI will take us there even further. Be fun, though. I think Alice had fun.
Yeah, overall at the end, by the end, yes, but parts of it were a little scary.
She kept her head. So with that being said, we do have another announcement, and that's that we're going to hit the pause button on AI Insights podcast for now.